Good morning, internet family. Happy Saturday. I almost didn't know what day it was, even though I did a minute ago. I pray everyone's doing well and enjoying fall. I am loving it. So I've got something really, really fun for us today. My message for us today started with me running this morning. So I typically don't run but twice a week here lately, ever since, my surgery and the trip and everything else, where I kind of cut back and slowed down because I had to. I'm catching back up, and I'm up to 2 runs a week right now again. And I ran 2 days ago. So last night when I was getting, my things ready for this morning, and I felt like I was going to go for a run this morning, I was like, well, that's a little interesting, but I felt like I was supposed to. So I laid out my running shoes and went for my run this morning. I went a different way. Everything about this morning was different than it would typically have been. And so my run was almost 5 miles, and I am right on the last leg of it, and I am tired. I'm exhausted, and when I'm running up the last leg of my run, there's a hill. It's not like a really big hill, but it's long. It's like close to a mile probably of just a steady grade up all the way to where the red light is that I turned to get to my house. And I was a little exhausted, and I kept wanting to stop. And there was a couple of times before that during my run this morning that I wanted to stop, and I don't really need to stop anymore most of the time. So I started praying for endurance again. And that was something the Lord had led me through a long time ago, when I first started training for a marathon. I didn't actually get to run, but was endurance. And what we actually needed to pray for was willingness and not endurance, because we have endurance. Are we just willing to use it? But I was praying for endurance because, boy, I felt tired. And my legs were hurting. And I noticed myself kind of starting to slouch and kind of starting to sling my arms around a little. And I kept having to correct my posture. But in correcting my posture and in focusing on it, and in deciding that I wasn't going to slow down, and in deciding that I was going to run with endurance, because I had the willingness, I had the desire, and I knew I had the endurance. So I was going to finish the run. I was going to finish my race perfectly without stopping and without running incorrectly. That's where the message came to me. And I realized why I ran this morning in the first place. Why, after, I don't need to run today usually, but this was what it was. The Lord had this message for me. So my life is brand new today. My life is, there's not a single thing other than my relationship with the Lord and my marriage. But there's not a single thing about the things I do day to day, I guess, that is the same as it was 6 weeks ago, something like that. Literally nothing about my life is the same. Everything is different. Everything is new. And even more so, everything, I don't want to say everything's in my control, but I am responsible for making the decisions for everything in my life today. And that's new to me. I'm used to being told what to do, with half of my life, and being able to kind of base the rest of my life around that. So the fact that my life is completely different is one thing, and that in and of itself, the decisions being up to me, it's a little scary. And as awesome as it is, and don't take this as me complaining, because I can't tell you how grateful I am and how much I've prayed for these things in my life today, but it's a little exhausting. There are some mornings that my brain is just like, even after I'm up and at it, and my brain just doesn't seem to click on like it used to. And I understand when I recognize what it is, and it's just an adjustment period. And I'll get used to it, and these things will come like this again, like everything else in my life. But, right now I'm tired, in every way possible. Even on my best days, I'm just a little tired. I'm so blessed and so grateful for that, though. This is just a stretching and growing season. So what he showed me in this is, I'm going to read the scripture. Hebrews 12, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. So, what he spoke to me this morning is, that our lives are races. Our lives are marathons. Our lives are runs, whatever. And we have a set course that he sets for us that we're on, and a set life that because everything's predestined. He already knows what's going to happen. And we're running it, but we get to choose how we run it. So I could have made the decision this morning, 4 miles into my 5-mile run, to stop, to sit down on the side of the road, or to stand there for a minute, or to slow down to a crawl or a walk. It would have changed everything. It would have changed how long it took. It would have changed the way that I felt about it, and it would have changed me as a person. I also could have kept running it, but not been mindful of how I was running it. My gait, my cadence could have been way off. My posture, I could be sitting here right now with, and I've done this, I could say this because I know this, because I've done it. I could be sitting here right now with just a swollen neck and shoulders and in extreme pain, and my arms jacked up because I decided to stop paying attention to how I was running, and slung my arms around and slouched and let my neck whip around, and all these things that come with the fatigue of running and being exhausted, and the way that I felt that last leg of my run this morning. I could have given up on the posture and continued to do it. And that's what he was teaching me, what he was showing me this morning. So my life is new. My life is brand new, and I am literally running a race. Everything that I'm doing, it's like a constant action in my mind. I'm having to delegate everything in my life in such a way that I have to pay attention. And here's where it is. So if I want to survive financially, I can't stop moving. And I'm okay with that. But the part that really matters is am I going to survive financially and keep doing what I need to do? Or am I going to do it the way that I know is healthy for me? Am I going to put God first every single day? Am I going to put the one thing that I know he's reshaping my life for after him, priority wise? What's going to come next? Is it going to be money, or is it going to be the thing that I know he's got me doing, which is not my job? And what about my spiritual and mental and emotional health? Am I going to make the intentional time to sit with my husband, make the intentional time to give myself a day off? Because I actually haven't done that yet, and he's really working on me with that right now. And am I going to be intentional to make sure that I'm up early enough to do the things that I need to do, even if maybe I don't have to be in order to work, so on and so forth? Am I going to maintain the right form, the right posture? Am I going to keep an eye on my cadence and the way that I'm holding myself while I'm running? Or am I just going to run and get tired and just kind of flail around and get there and get the job done? So, and here's the other part. So in Hebrews 12:1, it says, "Let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." The extra stuff, the extra junk that we're carrying, our sin, our things that we idolize, our bad habits, relationships maybe that we don't need to have, or that we aren't in the right way, these things weigh us down and slow us down and keep us from the purpose that God has for us, and keep us from finishing well. Most of us can run a race of some kind and finish, but it's not just about finishing. It's about finishing well. We are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, and I've heard that taught different ways. But the point to take there is that it's not just us. If I were to run and not run well, I would be the only one paying the consequences. I would be the only one struggling and in pain for it. But that's not the case. When we're running the race of life, we have people watching us. And it's not actually about us. When they're watching us, they see Jesus. They see a follower of Jesus, and they see what that looks like, and what kind of witness are we to them for them witnessing us. And then, again, Hebrews 12:2, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith. He reminded me that there for just a second, I thought that I was going to have to stop this morning, which has been a long time since I felt like that. It was kind of surprising to me. And he reminded me that that's the place where I remember I don't actually have it in me. I don't have it in me today to live my life, the life that I'm living today. I don't have it in me to do that, the strength, the wisdom, any of the things that I need for that, I don't have it. So maybe when I'm tired, it's because I'm using my own strength and I've run out, I've depleted it. Looking to Jesus, he reminded me of Uganda when I was there a few months ago and how desperate I was. I've never been so desperate, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I've never been so desperate because just everything about the trip itself, like just taking off from the airport on, everything about it exhausted me. But because of that and me choosing to lean into Jesus instead of leaning into myself or into that exhaustion, I've never been stronger. I've never been more alert. I've never been more powerful. I've never had more peace. It was something I had never actually experienced before. And he reminded me that I need that today. I need that today more than I've ever needed it for this new life that he's giving me. And I think this is a lesson we can all learn, that when he puts a race before us, when we're running a race for him, we do not have the endurance. We do not have the strength. We do not have what it takes. So what we have to do is lean into him. We have to lean into him. We have to get our strength from him. We have to get everything that we need to do what he set before us from him. And we have to watch how we're doing it. We have to remember to be mindful of how we're carrying ourselves and what we're doing with the rest of us. The rest of our body that we're not using, the rest of ourselves, the rest of our lives. What are we doing with everything else? Maybe what he's got you doing only takes a little bit of time every day. What are you doing the rest of your time? Are you feeding yourself to be able to be stronger and better for that? Or are you depleting yourself, So that's where the posture and the way I'm carrying myself comes into that. I'm just going to read this again. So, Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings to us so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right-hand throne of God. Whatever race you're running today, friends, run it with Jesus, and run it for Jesus, and run it well. You guys have a wonderful weekend.